Hello everyone, my name is Onkar Singh and this is my very second video, the continuation of the first one as far as my topic on that video was concerned, and that topic was world peace and human race mortality. I finished the last video with a statement. It was not a statement, but it was a sort of comparison, the comparison with the extent of concentration level wise. First level is concentration, definitely when we are thinking of certain thing at a time, putting our immense force or power to imagine that particular thing and stretch it for a time period. That time period might be for a second, 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, so forth, so on, depending on the strength that we have. So that is why the term comparison is, when you start, you definitely concentrate. You try and improve it to bring it to a next level. Next level of concentration is, meditation, then cogitation, then renunciation, and then salvation. That is moksha, or a penultimate. The penultimate situation of salvation is samadhi, which it's a sacrilege. It's not a sacrilege. But it's sort of sacrilege, wherein you tend to get rid of this mortal body and take this pious soul on a perennial journey, the unsettling journey that leads to that ultimate force, which in the last video of mine I termed as the ultimate God, from which we all came and start living on this planet. So if you remember, planet, concentration, cogitation, meditation, salvation, not salvation actually, but if I remember from the last video which I recorded, was the word meditation more often, right, in that video. So yes, so where we are now is the present. Where we started from was past, and where we have to go is our ultimate future. Now our ultimate future, present and the past, these 3 points, and throughout the journey what we do is termed as karma. And there is a quality of karma that we do. There are many words that have been attached with it in our religious books, respective religious books. Like Christianity has its own term. Definitely not specifically they have provided any particular word to the very act of karma. But yes, in Hinduism, there is a term, and that term is definitely karma. A good one or a bad one. It depends on the completion of that particular deed. So, karma, journey, these 3 points, the way we carry forward, and the way we do our things at a particular time is unique in their own terms, depending on each and every individual walking on this planet. So how should we compile the good karma in an order to get a satisfaction by the end of this life when we take the last breath? how do we define, and how can we, relate ourselves with this life, the kind of life that we have led? Was it a good one or a bad one, or you have some sort of a demand with you that you could not finish it in the whole life of yours? Definitely, every one of us, whosoever have left this place uh, with his or her last breath, must have many things. I'm not sure for all of them, but yes, most of us, like 99% or 90% in this era, for sure, they might have left this body without uh, satisfaction. That leads to another thing which we call, rebirth, since our demand was unsatisfied, and then we want to accomplish it, we want to fulfill those desires. So, and then we take a birth. So there's this example I would like to draw here. I would like to share with you guys that what happens when we die unfinished, like, our desires not being satisfied, all the desires. So if we end up like this, dissatisfied, what happens? We take next birth, right? So yeah, there's an example. The example says there was a sage, there was a saint who was about to die, who was about to leave his body, and by the time he was about to leave his body finally, he was almost accomplished with his all the tasks that he was confined with in his life. And he was lying in his pupil's lap, and so his head was facing upward in the sky, and this pupil was sitting underneath the tree. It was a mango tree, and it was a month of, probably, it was summer season, and the tree was laden with fruit, with mangoes, ripe, like June or July probably, so somewhere around that period. The tree was full with, it was laden with the ripened mangoes. And what he did, this saint, before he died, or before he closed his eyes, he saw a mango, a ripened mango, and there was a desire in him to eat that mango. If he would have eaten it, this was the desire in his mind and heart. And this was his last word from within: if I would have eaten it. And then he closed his eyes, and then he died. His body died. And the moment he died, his body got frozen. So the soul traveled from his body, and immediately then and there, it took another birth in the form of insect. So this insect was there in that mango. A puff of air, or a gush of wind that flew over in that moment, made that mango move very steadily for some time, and then the mango fell down. The mango fell down, and it strewed like a tomato on the ground. And as the mango strewed, hitting the ground, the insect came out and died. And poof, the soul got liberated completely, because it was his last desire, the saint's last desire, to eat that mango, to take a taste of that mango. And the mango fell down and strewed down onto the ground. So the last action was that insect died, taking the taste of mango. And since it was the saint's last wish, so his soul got liberated finally, because then he did not have any more desire the world materialistic desire of his in this world. So he got, you know, renunciated completely and achieved salvation, and he never came back. So this is the phenomenon of karma and the materialistic attachment story of the most pious soul on this planet. And definitely the body of this most pious soul, we term it as saint or the sant in Hindi. And popes, you know, different religions have their own gurus or their own religious leaders. So these are pious souls, and since they are not that much attached to the materialistic things in the world, which is why they acquired those positions and viewed with a respected, you know, mindset of the crowd. So this was about the karma and the salvation and a sort of story that I shared with you. Now, connection is another thing. Everything in this life happens on the connection that we create with our frontiers, with the people around us, be it a personal or a professional life. If you go to, you know, in your professional area, you come across people with different mindsets, and you approach accordingly, you know, to these people. And as you grow into interaction, it depends on how you end up with that short relation. When I say relation, I mean it could be, you know, a fruitful relation in terms of business. It could be a fruitful relation in terms of what you gained in your personality. Because definitely, if you interact with somebody, you imbibe certain quality of his or her, and then you share a sort of qualities among you. I mean, between you and him or her. So you also give certain qualities to him or her. So what if the qualities that are being shared like these as a whole on this planet is good? It'll be definitely good for the human race. And how can we do this? Is by inculcating a good habits in ourselves, morally and you know, behaviorally, and then we can spread it like a viral, interacting with the people around us with force, honesty, power, and immense intensity, so that it propagates in a balanced way on this planet and achieve the target with the same balance with which it was initiated in the first place. So, for example, if I acquired certain good qualities in me after a long period of time, and I developed that quality in me, a good quality that is of helping nature,